Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It is hard to believe it's already May the 8th. May the 8th be with you, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Star Wars Fan Chat, getting to know your fellow Star Wars fans. Today I got very excited to have a good old buddy from back in the YouTube days, back in the early YouTube days, buddy Owen. We've been able to meet a couple of times when I've been over in the US, back in Celebration Orlando in 2017 and over in Chicago in 2019. So it's going to be really good fun to catch up with Owen. So without further ado, let's just bring him on.
Well, hey, what's up, everybody? There's my man.
How are you, Owen? You doing good?
I am hanging in there. This was my day off, so wasn't too bad. I honestly can't think of a better way to end it. It's nice way to round off the day. So thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. That's all right. My pleasure. What time is it in your neck of the woods? You're over in Kentucky.
Yeah. So on the east side of the states, a little after, it's around 8 o'clock. So
8 o'clock. Cool. That's good. Yeah. Nice and early here. Wednesday morning, 9:30 a.m. I'd normally be at work, but I am on holidays, which is very nice.
Vacations are always good.
Always. I was just saying before, I'm finally starting work on my Mandalorian armor. So it's had a primer coat. It needs a little bit of sanding today. It's not too bad. It's all ABS, like vac formed kit. So I was looking at it yesterday after I did the primer. It gives it that sort of flat look. And I was looking and I'm like, this really doesn't need a lot of sanding. And it's gonna be good. It's gonna be nice and easy. It's gonna be easy, but
I can't wait to see it next time you're over on my side of the world. So
hopefully I can bring it over with me. Yeah, absolutely. So what did you work? Like I said, a few days out from Star Wars Day. Did you do anything to celebrate, or are you busy?
I had to work Saturday afternoon, so I woke up and watched the first half of Tales from the Empire, which I really liked it. I still need to finish the Barriss episodes. I've got 2 more of those, but I really like them so far. I really enjoyed Tales of the Jedi. So when they announced that they were going to do Tales from the Empire, I got really excited because I'm actually a really big Empire fan.
Cool.
Always been fascinated with the Empire. I just thought they're cool. So I liked that. And then so Thursday nights, I've got a really good friend of mine who we're actually going through the entire, all of Star Wars media, the movies, the TV shows, the cartoons. So we just started the first season of The Bad Batch. So I actually haven't watched the 3rd season yet because at this point, I'm just waiting for us to catch up there. She's like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, yeah, but it's more fun that way. So
yeah, no, that's cool.
So we watched. Go ahead.
Have they watched all the Star Wars before? Or is this like an experiment to sort of go through?
She's seen the movies, but we started actually watching The Mandalorian together. And in season 2, when Bo-Katan came in, she's like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Oh, well, there's kind of some backstory here." So I suggested, well, why don't we go back and watch just some of the episodes to get you caught up on The Mandalorian? And we started with a couple of those, and then it's like. And then I was having to explain so many things. And I just said, why don't we just go back to the very beginning? We start with episode 1 and we just go with it. And she's like, okay. So we did that. So I think we've been doing it for about 1.5 years now. So we got finished with the Clone Wars. We didn't watch every single episode. We watched just the main key episodes that basically are essential. And then I threw in a few of my favorites just for fun.
Yeah.
So she really enjoyed it. She loves the battle droids. She just thinks they're funny. So for Christmas, I bought her the original release of the Clone Wars battle droid for Christmas. So she's got that on her shelf in her room now. So
nice.
But it's been, honestly, it's the one part of my week that I can look forward to. Like Thursdays, I have something to do, and it's always fun. She's enjoying it, I think, from what I've seen. So.
Oh, that's the main thing, Yeah. How could you not enjoy it?
Honestly, getting to share my love of Star Wars with somebody who's only scratched the surface and seeing their reactions when you have some of these major things, because she had seen Revenge of the Sith before, but never really fully understood the full concept, obviously, about how Order 66 came to be.
Mm.
And so when Anakin and the 501st are marching on the Jedi Temple, she's like, I know what's going to happen, but I don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
So
I thought I'd cast back a little bit, and like, you know, we obviously introduced each other through YouTube 10 plus years ago, I reckon.
You're making me
It's
old.
been a long time. Yeah. Dude, don't worry. Makes me feel really old and crusty these days, but I know I'm not. It's that mindset. But what initially got you started on making YouTube videos? And I know you're not actively doing it anymore, but
So as a kid, I've always been a big Simpsons fan as a kid. And so I think it was around like sixth or seventh grade. It was when I was really like got into the Simpsons, and I just started collecting the books and the figures. And there was one guy I watched on YouTube. He had his really, really impressive collection. I'm like, well, this looks like fun. I'd like to talk about mine. So I took my family's really, really like behemoth of a digital camera and just recorded like a couple of videos. And I'm like, this is fun. And then I started really experimenting with stop motion animation with Lego, and did a few Star Wars shorts. And then I'm like, I don't always have to talk about The Simpsons. I can talk about Star Wars too. So it kind of came into that. I'd say around probably like 8th grade, early high school, when I started doing that kind of stuff. Part of the reason I just haven't done anything anymore is just like, honestly, I get so busy, and I just like, it's like, I would like to come back at some point, but honestly, right now, with just life being as crazy it is, it's just a little too much work at the time. But I mean, maybe someday I'll come back full force.
It does always go full force. Yeah. No, it is. It takes a lot of work. Trust me. I'm doing the Phantom Manus, which doesn't sound very good when I say it like that. As I've pointed out in my daily videos, but I'm doing a Phantom Menace related video every single day this month.
I've enjoyed it. If that makes you feel any better, so.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
No, I've recorded about half of them. I've got to spend some time doing it today, but I've got through about the 17th, I think.
Oh my goodness.
The other day, and I was starting to lose my voice, and I'm just like, no, the rest is coming later in the week. I need to stop this.
Definitely take some time for yourself to heal up. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. I just come off of a bit of a cold too, so my voice still isn't 100% after that. So I'm like, it's way better than it was last week. Last week was absolutely horrible, but yeah. Oh, should we kick off this Q&A session?
Let's do it, man. I have nothing else to do.
Yeah. What are your first memories of Star Wars?
So I have some vague memories. So my dad actually has it on video, on home videos from when I was like very, very little, like not even 2 years old yet. But there is video of me watching the TV and watching the TV advertisements for the 20th anniversary, 20th anniversary release of Star Wars, and then the special editions. And then I think at some point, I want to say somebody gave me a Qui-Gon action figure when I was like 3 or 4. And then I also remember walking into one of the grocery stores with my dad and buying a couple of these like little die-cast pod racers, and then the little assault tank that they have on Naboo, not the MTT, but the other one.
Yes.
I still have those somewhere, but the one part I really remember when Star Wars became my thing. So when I was about 4 years old, we moved houses just so I could get into a better school system. So the house we moved into had an unfinished basement, and my dad was like, that's the first thing he wanted to tackle when we moved in, was getting this finished, because the house had been, I think since like the mid 80s. So it'd been like 10, 12 years with an unfinished basement. So he spent the next year just painstakingly putting it together. And by the time it got nearly finished, it was time for us, like, okay, well, surround sounds are a big thing. Home theaters are a huge thing now with these big giant TVs. And he's like, well, I want to get a surround sound, make it, really, really cool. So I remember one weekend we were going into a little electronics store, and being the curious 5-year-old that I am, I don't care anything about what my parents are doing. All I want to do is go watch what's on the TV.
Yeah.
So 5-year-old me walks over to this TV, and there's these two guys talking over some big giant box, and the first thing I heard was, "The hyperdrive generator's gone, master. We'll need a new one." My life changed in that moment forever. Obi-Wan talking to Qui-Gon right after they landed on Tatooine.
Yeah.
And I remember I got really invested in the movie for a few minutes, or for a little while before we had to leave. And I asked one of the clerks, what is this? And he's like, "Oh, that's Star Wars." And I'm like, "Oh." So as a kid growing up in the early 2000s, video stores were still a big deal. So naturally, it's a Friday, it's the weekend. My dad's like, "Well, you want to go to the video store?" I'm like, "Yeah, can we rent Star Wars?" He's like, "I guess." And then apparently he had actually tried to show it to me once before. And I wouldn't say vividly, I vaguely remember being scared of the Jawas. And that's about it. But we sat down and we watched all the movies that were out at that point. So this was early spring 2002. So we had the Phantom Menace, and then the original trilogy was out.
Yep.
And then I remember vividly my dad taking me to see Attack of the Clones in the theaters, which I remember just being blown away. And then that following Christmas, I got the Geonosis Battle Arena playset.
It's so good. I love that set.
I still have it. It is somewhere up in the attic. I would love to display it if I had the room. But I just really remember getting into Star Wars, and I was 5 or 6 years old. And I think it was a perfect time because it was right as Attack of the Clones was getting ready to come out. I remember buying a couple of little picture books and some of the early action figures. I think one of my first figure that I bought was Anakin when he was in his refugee clothing as they're leaving Coruscant to go to Naboo. I remember that. And I think it was at Orlando. I actually bought a carded version of that just to hold on to for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
But
that one came with the big sort of toolbox, big metal box.
And I remember I think it was see, I used it mostly as a computer.
Yeah,
because I remember I used that just solely as a computer for so many adventures I had. And
because I don't think I have that one myself, because I don't know, for some reason I've always had the the TVC one, but
right.
Because that little box had a flip-up lid. I feel like that's one I need to get, just for the accessory mainly. But
it was a cool one. I have some fond memories playing with that one. And then I remember getting my first R2-D2 not long after, and it was this little electronic one. You press the little button on its chest, and it makes noises. So that was, and then I just remember getting the DVDs sporadically. My dad. Actually, my first set of the original trilogy was a bootleg set, which I only have one of them now because I loaned one to a friend, and then I got rid of the other one. And honestly, in hindsight, I'm like, I really wish I never had done that, because I've always told myself, if I've seen them in thrift stores and secondhand stores once. Excuse me. So if I ever see them again, I'm gonna buy them. Just like I said, sentimental reasons. But that's kind of really where my adventures with Star Wars began. So kind of a lot of good memories.
That's awesome. It's always great to relive that too. It's just it is just good fun. First figures. VHS tapes. I kind of wish hung on to the VHS tapes that we used to record from the TV. Because then you go through and you watch all the commercials in between, and it's sort of a bit of a time capsule of the era.
One of my best friends in elementary school, I remember I went over to his house, and he's like, "Dude, I found my uncle's recording of Star Wars from the 80s from TV. Do you want to watch it?"
Wow.
Absolutely. So I remember watching a TV cut of A New Hope with all the 80s commercials, and there were some Star Wars toy commercials in there in the mix too, and just made everything better. So
that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
So, out of all the Star Wars films, which is your favorite?
So it's kind of a joke among my friends that my favorite Star Wars film is the holiday special. Now,
which is why I made the thumbnail the way I
which
did.
I love. It was perfect. And because like when people will ask, what's your favorite Star Wars movie, and I will always say it's the holiday special, and they'll look at me like I've got like lobsters crawling out of my ears, and they'll literally ask, "Are you insane?" I'm like, "Yes, I am insane. I am weird. Deal with it." And I
And
love
there's
it
nothing wrong with that.
and I love it because it's so bad. I mean, just like I think everybody knows the story about how much Lucas hates it. There's the quote I'll always remember is, if I had a hammer in the time, I'd go and smash every single bootleg copy. Well, sorry to tell you, George, I've got two, so you're gonna have to fight me hand and over foot for those two copies of that bootleg.
Look, as Star Wars fans, we're all a little bit insane. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here doing what we're doing today.
Exactly.
So,
I've even got a handful of like collectibles from the holiday special. One I pulled aside here. So Jefferson Starship had a song that was in the special. So they released a special 45 RPM record that I tracked down.
Oh wow.
And I've listened to it. The songs, yeah. I mean, I like Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane. And, of course, they became Starship. They had more name changes than probably any other band. But that's just one of, like, the random pieces of memorabilia from the holiday special. Like, one of the few non-Soul Boba Fett ones, mind you.
Yeah.
But
it's a little bit of a deep cut for those that,
yeah. And I know you might remember, but Celebration Orlando, I actually made custom holiday special buttons that I gave out to a whole bunch of people.
Gary says here, I'll never stop campaigning to make the Mind Evaporator canon the only time soft porn was in Star Wars. That's so good.
My friend that I've been watching stuff with, I had to show her that, and she was she was so confused. And
it's still confusing to this day.
And what was I gonna say? I forgot. Oh yeah. So when I was at Celebration Orlando, which was my first celebration, which was I waited in line. I was like 100 something in line because I remember I got off the plane from Kentucky to Florida. I got off the plane. My mom and I went to the hotel. I put my bags in my room and I said, "Bye, Mom. I'm gonna go wait in line for the next God knows how long." And she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. I survive off nerd sweat, adrenaline, and Star Wars quotes. I'm going to be fine." And
there's one thing about Star Wars Celebration Orlando, it was the lineup.
Those were some epic times. And I remember waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they had a camera crew from the Star Wars show interviewing people in line. And they're like, "Does anybody else want to get interviewed?" I'm like, hell, I'll get interviewed. And so I'm talking with, oh my gosh, I remember, I know his first name is Max, but I can't remember his last name. But I was talking with Max, and he's like, "No, yeah, so who's your favorite? Who's somebody you really want to see from Celebration?" I'm like, "Harrison Ford." And if you watch the replay from that first day, you'll see my little 2-second Harrison Ford clip in there. But the one clip that didn't make it in, which I think is my funniest one. So, like I said, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I had maybe gotten 45 minutes of sleep that whole night because I remember getting woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning to a Star Wars rave / lightsaber gauntlet battle royale in the middle of the convention lineup hall. So when he asked me, "What's your favorite Star Wars moment?" Now, my sane brain would have said the first duel between Luke and Vader on Bespin. It's just so iconic. It's just so fun. I mean, obviously, it's one of the greatest plot twists in cinema history there. But sleep deprived me said the scene in the Star Wars holiday special where Lumpy plays with his X-Wing. That was what I said. And I had people look at me like, "Is this guy on drugs?" And I remember everybody just getting a kick out of it. So that's because I kind of do like that scene. It's just kind of funny because the first 45 minutes of that movie, you have no clue what anybody is saying unless they're human. There's no subtitles. There's no translation.
No.
And I'm just like, you kind of just have to piece it together.
Yeah.
But if we're really talking about just the canon stuff, I would say Attack of the Clones. I mean, like I said before, that was the first Star Wars movie I saw in the theaters. That was right when I got into Star Wars, like, wholeheartedly. It's like I can watch that movie backwards and forwards and just know every second. I can just turn it on in the background, basically quote along the entire movie. But I just love it. There's so much fun about it.
There is.
I mean, you got the speeder chase right at the beginning. You got, the fight through the asteroid field. And then of course you have the beginning of the Clone Wars. You have the battle in the arena. It's just so much fun. And, especially for a 6-year-old kid watching that for the first time, it's the greatest thing on earth. You're seeing this great stuff. I mean, not to say the other movies are terrible. I love every single Star Wars movie in its own different, crazy way.
Yeah.
Like Attack of the Clones just has so much emotion and sentimental connection to it. I just can't help but watch that one whenever I can.
Yeah, I think I was in 9th grade when that came out, so I was about 13 or 14 years old. And yeah, I just remember not being able to go on like opening weekend because I can't remember why, but I remember kids at school like telling me about Yoda fighting, and I'm like, I really don't want to know this. I want to see this for myself, and I'm like, I couldn't admit that being a diehard Star Wars fan, everyone knew me as a diehard Star Wars fan even back then. I couldn't admit that I couldn't go to see it on the first weekend, so I just played along. I just went, yeah, so good. Like
I remember,
I just didn't want to be that kid who hadn't been to see it opening weekend. I had to wait.
I think it was about a month after it came out before I got to see it, because my birthday is right in that second week of June, and so I'm like right as I'm getting out of school as well. So my parents threw me a surprise birthday party for my 6th birthday. And the other big movie that summer was Spider-Man. And I was also super hyped on the original Spider-Man. So my dad picked me up after school, took me to go see Spider-Man. Although I do remember asking if we could see Star Wars instead. But he's like, no, we'll go see that next weekend, which of course we did. But to be fair, when we got home, my surprise birthday party was Spider-Man themed. And then my dad had to go back to work. Really, he went next door, changed into a Spider-Man costume, and surprised all of us kids. So
that's awesome.
I would say summer of 2002 was pretty memorable for a lot of reasons. Spider-Man and Star Wars. So 2 of my favorite movies from my childhood, for sure.
Awesome. Just a couple of comments here. Just want to thank everyone for coming and hanging out and dropping into the chat. Appreciate you all coming and watching. It's awesome. Love having everyone here. When the Stormtrooper broke Lumpy's toy, that broke my 6-year-old heart.
Man. Stupid imps.
Ameko says, I remember watching the holiday special on TV in New Zealand as a kid. For years, I swore black and blue that existed to my schoolmates, and they thought I was smoking.
It's a very.
There's enough people out there would like to continue to pretend that it doesn't exist, but
I will
forever
defend the holiday special. To be fair, J.J. Abrams said it was canon in an interview I remember prior to the Force Awakens release. So ever since he said that, I have taken it to heart as canon. I mean, they've re-released the little animated short on Disney Plus, and they've referenced Light Day in the first episode of Mandalorian. And when they referenced that, I was so excited. I'm like, so they finally going to release the holiday special. And every single Star Wars day, I am always hoping there is a slight glimmer of hope that they will announce we're going to put it up on Disney Plus.
Yeah, just tuck it away in the corner there in that vintage section.
Yeah.
Just tuck it away there. They don't even need to make an announcement of it. Just say, look, it's there. We're just going to drop it there. It's up to you whether you want to watch it. Right. It's cool. It's fine. Just put it out there. Just do it.
I remember reading, so one of my favorite documentaries is obviously Empire of Dreams. I think it's like, if you really want to learn like a really great introduction to the behind the scenes making of Star Wars, Empire of Dreams is perfect.
That is the quintessential documentary in my opinion. It is an absolute goldmine. It is It is about 2.5
I
to 3
remember
hours
watching
of
that
pure
on
magic.
TV when it debuted. I remember I watched it in its entirety, and then I remember also begging my dad to record it on VHS, and I remember I watched it for days on end. But I read somewhere that whoever directed the movie or the documentary was given access to the original print of the holiday special, and I think he kind of started to put a little piece on the holiday special together for the documentary, but he just never made it to the cut.
Yeah.
Which I would have loved to see that. And I know there's been a documentary a couple of years ago or just recently that came out. I haven't gotten to watch it yet. I really want to.
It's worth the watch. That's Kyle Newman did that.
Yeah. And then I remember I remember right before Star Wars Celebration Orlando, I got a message from somebody in a Star Wars group who was working with the collecting presentation track, and they had noticed that I was a holiday special fan, and they're like, "Do you have a picture of your holiday special collection that we could put in the PowerPoint?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I remember I put it in there, and I didn't even get to go to the presentation, which I was a little disappointed about. But so I don't even know if it was even made the cut. But still, the fact that like, oh, somebody's like, oh, well, this guy apparently knows a thing or two. So that was cool.
That is cool. There was so much to pack into those weekends, though. Like even being there for all 4 or 5 days in Chicago, it's still, some days you just want to hang out with friends and just wander around and talk.
Yeah.
And otherwise you can spend so much day just racing from one spot to the other. And I just want to hang out. Just want to hang out.
No weekend can hold it all.
No, not at all. Favorite character?
Without a question, Obi-Wan. I mean, that was the first character I remember, watching in that electronics store was Obi-Wan. But I think there was a friend of mine who put it this way: Star Wars characters grow as you grow. I remember because, as a kid, Luke Skywalker and, young Anakin were my favorites. And then, I get older into my rebellious teenage years, and then I really relate to more of Han Solo. But I think now that I've really entered that area from where I'm not really a teenager or a young adult anymore, but I'm really getting into the realm of adult, I think Obi-Wan just speaks on so many levels like that. And whether you're talking about Ewan McGregor's adaptation, James Arnold Taylor's adaptation, or even Alec Guinness, I think everybody can relate to Obi-Wan in some sense.
Big time, yeah.
Honestly, he had the coolest hair in Attack of the Clones. That Jedi mullet is spectacular. That's part of the reason why I grew a mullet the last 2 summers was because of Obi-Wan.
Yeah, because of Obi-Wan.
But I've always loved Obi-Wan. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan's they're like right there, the Black Series figures. And I remember, Obi-Wan's right there. Nice. I remember fighting him in a collectible store, and I'm like, I'm not leaving without him. And I'm kind of glad I bought him because now I think he's worth a few bucks, which is nice.
Yeah. I'm glad that episode 1 version of Obi-Wan's getting a re-release soon too.
I gotta get it. I got it.
That 3-pack with the mole, yeah.
It's great.
It looks good. Looks really good. Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, hard to beat. But yeah, like you said, your favorite character tends to grow with you. Right. It's, definitely I grew up through my teenage years with Anakin Skywalker. I've got a video dropping tomorrow talking a little bit about Jake Lloyd, and all the BS that he went through as a kid. But being a kid, awesome. Yeah, love Jake Lloyd.
Great.
But then sort of growing up through my teenage years, watching Attack of the Clones, and then by the time Revenge of the Sith came out, I was 17 years old. And all of a sudden, I'm sort of starting to really understand these emotional beats that Anakin's going through, these difficult, challenges of, emotional trauma as a teenager with hormones that are out of control and all that kind of thing. So I kind of felt myself growing with Anakin. And then in my adult life, going through relationships and having to come out of relationships. And, there's one story where I've told multiple times where I was coming out of a relationship it would have been about 2012, 13, early 2013, I think. And that was around the same time that Ahsoka left the Jedi Order when that episode aired. So I immediately connected with Ahsoka from that moment on a more powerful level than I ever had before. And that was having to step away from a relationship. It was the most difficult choice I've had to make, but had to do it for myself. It was had to step away from that,
And I think
place where it
I think
wasn't.
that's such a major reason why these films have stayed so relevant for so long. They just transcend generations, which is perfect.
And then, just the other year when my marriage broke down, I was watching Book of Boba Fett, and then we finally got Luke Skywalker coming back again, and his message of always get back up, right. And that was something that was So I got those ties to these characters that sort of resonate with periods of my life. Very very much what you said,
and because you sent me the questions ahead, so I'll get into a bit more detail on this later. But when the Disney Plus series here, Obi-Wan, come out, and I saw him, just kind of in the middle of just kind of being a little depressed. I've been there. I've been there so many times, especially in a few years ago. So I definitely was able to relate. And he's it was great to see him at the end, kind of overcoming a lot of these things. And I'm getting to that point now, so it's just That's another way. Yeah,
that's good.
A lot of fun to relate to those characters, especially such dynamic and engaging histories.
Yeah, and you see, like you said, Obi-Wan overcoming those obstacles and coming out of it. You're like, well, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
I haven't got a lightsaber, but I can do it.
Yeah.
Next favorite background character or alien.
This one I actually didn't figure out this morning when I was looking over these. It's such a tough question. I've always really liked the Jawas. I've always thought they were fun. I think I've got 80% of the Jawa figures, that at least the 3 3/4 inch ones that Hasbro and Kenner have put out. I always like them. They're just funny. Actually seeing them in The Mandalorian, they're just fun.
That's the whimsical part of Star Wars. Star Wars has its serious moments. But it always has little moments of whimsy, and the Jawas are definitely one of them.
Right. And then, of course, the way they portrayed them in Mel Brooks' Spaceballs was just as funny. I think part of me likes them a little bit more in Spaceballs than Star Wars, but still, they're just so fun. They're just so freaking fun.
But the Jawas are good.
Yeah, always like the Jawas, and then honestly, just any random background droid has always been cool. Droids are fun.
So, who's your favorite droid? That's the next question, anyway.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of the R5 units. I don't know why. I really like R5D4 has always been just his few seconds in the show or the original film is just funny. And then
he's my boy, man. He's my boy.
And then, of course, the robot chicken sketch. It's like,
dude.
Gosh, that's when I fell in love with R5. I'm like, all right, I get it now.
I'll do it tomorrow. Not really feeling it.
Yeah, it's just, because we've all been there. We've been there.
Yeah.
We have those days. It's like, I got to go to work. I got to do this. I don't want to. I'll do it tomorrow. And then you have somebody saying, get up, do it now. It'll be better. I'm like, I don't want to do it now. It's like, I got to fix this stupid motivator.
R5 is my spirit droid, and to find out, in recent years that, through the certain point of view books that he is in fact a rebel hero, and we find out more of that in Mandalorian, that he was a bit of a plant from Carson Teva to track the Mandalorian and keep an eye on him. And that was cool. And, then he comes and saves the day on Mandalore, and he's got the jetpack boosters. And that's what I'm bummed out. I just did my review on the vintage collection R5D4, and they just used the old Builder Droid body. I wish they used the R2 with the rocket boosters, so you could have, had those legs with the rocket boosters and swap them out and do all that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of but there's a Black Series pack coming out with R5, a couple of pit droids, and the BD droid, and R5 comes with the rocket boosters in that. So I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I might have to go for that one because like the pit droids are always cool too. I've always liked those. I've always said I think it would be a really fun, like even if they did like a 2 or 3 episode, like Tales of the Jedi kind of style show for it. But I would love to see something like to go in depth more with the pod racers and like how the droid crews work. Because I mean, you see that one little pod race thing in Phantom Menace, and then you blink, you miss it. You see it on the TVs in the bar in Attack of the Clones when they're chasing Zam. But it's like that's about all they really talk about. I'm like, I would love to see like something like that.
The tales of like the pod race circuit, like like a 6-month period of like, it's like the equivalent of like NASCAR or something like that, where you follow a tour around and you do an episode on Ben Quaternero's and then you do an episode on Odie Mandrell, and it's just like you see these bits and pieces of these pod races all sort of going through their trials and tribulations of racing, pod race circuit.
Pod racing was always another thing I was so fascinated with because I grew up with NASCAR. My family's diehard NASCAR. I'll still watch races once in a while, but just like I loved that. And especially the 90s I've always thought was like peak era of NASCAR, the late 90s. So having that like the Star Wars version of NASCAR in the middle of the Phantom Menace was just like it was perfect.
Oh man, and being able to see that again in cinemas just the other day.
I still need to go. Again. I might go Thursday if I don't work Thursday.
You take the opportunity because, I went to go to the marathon, the prequel trilogy marathon. I only made it through 2 before my butt got sore, and I was just like, you know what? They're probably going to do Revenge of the Sith in cinemas next year for the 20th anniversary. Right. So I'll go see that again then. But sitting there watching episode 1 and 2 was unreal. And the pod race, like,
oh yeah,
just in that like I've got a good surround sound system at home, but it's one thing in a cinema when it's on a massive screen. Right. You got the Sebulba's engine sort of sitting behind you. It's so good. I love it.
And I got to go see Phantom Menace when they tried to do the films in 3D. I remember going to see that with like 3 of my best friends from school and just being blown away with how great it looked on the screen. But I'd love to go see it again. I think it'd be fun. I'll definitely see Attack of the Clones on the big screen again. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, that was incredible too. Like, all of it. I've always, thing is Attack of the Clones, it's funny. It always ends up really low in my rank list of Star Wars films, but every time I watch it, it's like, this is my favorite one right now. Like, I don't dislike any of the Star Wars movies, and ranking them is just something I'm not going to do. I'm not going to rank them anymore. I've just made a personal call to rank them because at the time I'm watching any of them, it's my favorite.
Right.
So like, I watched Attack of the Clones in cinemas and it was like, this has always sort of been low on my list, but I love every single moment of it.
Right.
It's just I'm like, I can't give it the discredit of putting it low on a list of favorite movies.
Yeah. It's great though. So much fun.
So next question is, if you could live on any planet in the Star Wars galaxy, what planet would it be?
So I have always been like really big on Italy, and I know Naboo is basically Italy. So I would say Naboo. I've actually had a couple of friends who have traveled to Italy and been right where they shot all the stuff for episode 2 on, I think it was like Como in Italy. And I remember I messaged one of my friends. I'm like, please just send me more pictures of this. Cause like they shot Star Wars in that exact spot. And that's all I want to do is go there. But Naboo would be really cool. Also, I've always really liked Renvar kind of, especially growing up as a kid playing the Clone Wars video game on my GameCube. I have so many fond memories of replaying the missions on Renvar just over and over.
Was that in the Republic Heroes game?
No, this was Clone Wars from like 2003. It was you would play. Like, yeah.
I'm trying to remember Renvar. I need to look.
Renvar is another snowy planet like Koth. Battlefront. The original Battlefront had a couple of levels with Renvar as well.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's popping up now. Yeah, that's triggered my memory now. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
honestly, it's like,
yeah.
I'd be up for either one of those. Coruscant would be cool, especially, you know, living on the upper levels, I think.
Yeah, someone's done a picture here of like the siege of Renvar, and it looks like Helm's Deep, but in the snow.
Oh, it's so much fun. That
Which
game,
cool,
I could go on for another hour. Just how much I loved that game growing up. I play a lot of role playing games with my friends. That whole shelf over there is just nothing but Dungeons and Dragons and all sorts of stuff. And I was starting out with a Star Wars D&D campaign with my friends, and I'm like, okay, I need something really cool for the story. And I thought back to the Dark Reaper, which was like one of the main. Tobias, shut up. Aw, thanks. But I remember like diving in headfirst into the lore of the Dark Reaper, and like there's not a whole lot out there, but like I remember just being like so enamored with it. And when I never really got to dive into that campaign that much, but I have played a campaign with a really big group of my friends. We played for like 3 years between episodes. Like it was like we started like right around the time Rebels was ending, and then we kind of worked our way up to and through A New Hope, and then we got a little bit into Empire, and then COVID just screwed everything up. So we didn't actually have a whole lot left to go. I'd say maybe about a month or two left of the campaign, and I've always just said, can we just get together and finish this? Because it was fun, but yeah, definitely Naboo would be like the place I'd like to live. Especially if Padme's next door.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, big time. Everything's soft and smooth there. So Kerry says, not going to lie, I did 3 trilogy marathons over the weekend. There's a pretty big reshuffle in my Skywalker saga rankings. So if you're here in the comments and you want to, we're going to play a little game just while we're talking. If you want to drop your rankings of the 9 Star Wars films in the comments here, we'll read them out. I reckon that'd be good fun. So the next question is, if you could have a lightsaber, whose would it resemble and what color would it be? Or what would your design and color sort of be of your lightsaber?
I would make it very, very sleek, very, very sleek, simple. I would kind of base it off of some of those designs you see early on in the Phantom Menace, especially ones in the visual dictionary that they show off. And it would have to be green. Green's my favorite color. So honestly, seeing Anakin wield a green lightsaber for like 5 minutes in Attack of the Clones just made my childhood heart blossom. And then, of course, Count Dooku slices that stupid thing in half, and I'm like, thanks a lot, Christopher Lee. You just ruined the movie. Not really, but
I wish there was more of that duel. There was more of that duel filmed, because there was action figures that depicted when, you know, Dooku was fighting with two blades for a moment. And you know, there are some behind the scenes shots of more of that duel between Anakin and Dooku. I would love to see that.
I think green lightsabers are literally why I love Kit Fisto so much. He's like,
not to mention,
like outside of Obi-Wan.
Smile.
Oh my gosh, Smile can kill. And his cameo in the original Men in Black is just perfect.
Yeah. All right. We've got the first ranking here from Mr. Adam JCC. He says, all right, so from least to most. So Last Jedi at the bottom, Rise of Skywalker, Phantom Menace, The Force Awakens, Attack of the Clones, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and New Hope. And at the top, Revenge of the Sith.
I can respect that.
Not a surprise there at the top.
I can very much respect that, Adam.
That's cool. That's cool. If you had to rank yours, Owen, what would you do?
Oh, put me on the spot here. So probably Attack of the Clones be first, then the holiday special. Then I'd say Rogue One, Force Awakens, Empire, Phantom Menace. Oh gosh, what else I got? I actually really enjoyed the Rise of Skywalker. So I'd say that's next. What am I missing here? I'd probably say Return of the Jedi, and then, oh crap, Last Jedi, and like, what am I missing? Solo. I like like I've said before, they're all great movies.
It's hard to rank, isn't it? It is.
I've lost track, but I think you get the general idea.
Yeah. Carrie's gone. Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Attack of the Clones, and Rise of Skywalker. Tobias says, outside of the OG trilogy, I think Genndy Tartakovsky's second Clone Wars is peak. 2D Clone Wars is peak Star Wars, followed by the 3D Clone Wars and Rebels. I think, yeah, the animated work, it does. It's had more time to flourish. You know, they've had that more time to flesh out the characters and have fun with it. I love going back and visiting the Tartakovsky Clone Wars. I think it's really, really good.
Gosh, I was so excited when they put those on Disney Plus. I remember just sitting up in my room and just binge watching them back to back. They're so much fun. Oh my gosh, who are they? I can't think of what his name was. Oh my gosh.
Brain fart.
Oh my gosh. My Star Wars knowledge has failed me for the last time. ARC Troopers.
It's only because you're ARC Troopers.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say, it's only because you're on camera. Second you turn the camera off, everything's just like right there in front.
You hate it, but like anything with the ARC Troopers in that first volume was just phenomenal. And I mean, it's everything about it was great. Having, especially in volume 2, having that little tie-in to Revenge of the Sith with the attack on Coruscant was just so much fun.
Yeah, it is. Adam says, my rankings from which ones are bad for good movie-wise is pretty different. So 9, 8, 7, 2, 1, 6, 3, 4, 5.
I can get behind that. It's fair.
Brian here says, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith at number 1. Hard to split the two. Number 2, Empire, Phantom Menace, A New Hope, Attack of the Clones, Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi.
Great rankings.
So I said, also recently loved those Count Dooku shorts. Yes, so good.
Oh, so excited. I was so excited we got to explore a little bit of that, a bit more about Dooku. That was great. That was so much fun.
So a couple of other questions here we got for you. What moment in Star Wars makes you the happiest?
These were tough, and I was trying to think of.
Honestly, there's just so many Star Wars moments now. Right. it's hard to pick
honestly, happy-wise, honestly, any space battle will make me happy. My favorite thing in Star Wars are the space battles. I loved the space battle in Rogue One. I think that might be my favorite. Just getting to see the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters, just the way they did all of that was just fun, especially finding some of that old unused footage from A New Hope was just so great to see them.
Yeah.
Still get to have a little bit of role in Star Wars, those older actors. And then just the Hammerhead Corvette smashing into the side of the Star Destroyer. Because I remember when I saw that, it was not too long after that episode of Rebels was out when Princess Leia had everybody in Rebels tried to help steal those Hammerhead Corvettes from the loading depot. And I remember people were thinking, what is the point of this episode? And then I remember when that thing rammed into that Star Destroyer, I remember I almost blurted out, that's why they did it. Because it was just so cool to see that.
It's the Leonardo DiCaprio. So
exactly. But honestly, I mean, and then lightsaber duels are going to be great. I think my favorite lightsaber duel is probably, I'd say the Empire Strikes Back with Luke and Vader on Bespin. It's just so fun. It's just the lighting, all the smoke. It's great. It's just fun.
It was literally like a battle in the pits of hell.
So
against.
Perfect.
George Lucas watching editor Phantom Menace sits back. Maybe they went too far, or him looking at the most absurd Anakin concept art. This might be too much. That's good. I like that.
Oh yeah, some good Lucas quotes.
What moment in Star Wars makes you the saddest?
Well, it wouldn't be like a sad, but I do remember it would be a happy sad kind of a thing. Honestly, seeing Carrie Fisher after she had passed, that was upsetting. But the only time I do remember actually physically crying at Star Wars was the end of The Force Awakens, when Rey got her lightsaber and had her duel with Kylo. I remember tearing up.
Yeah.
That was because, and I'll get into why The Force Awakens is such a big, important film to me later on, but which will make more sense why I got so emotional with it. But there's really not very many Star Wars moments that make me sad. I mean, obviously, I think when we have one of the actors who have played such a memorable character pass away, you watch a scene with them and it gets very emotional. I remember, like I said, going into Rise of Skywalker and watching The Last Jedi and watching those two movies, knowing Carrie was gone, it was really emotional. But there's not really a moment that really makes me sad. I mean, I just, I always take Star Wars with such high praise and just, it's fun.
Yeah. I remember, The Last Jedi obviously it was a year on after Carrie passed when that movie was released, and I don't know, the little nod that John Williams gave her in the credits. Yeah. They just going through the credits and it gets past the end credits sort of theme, and then it starts playing through the score of the film a little bit, and it just pauses to play a little bit of Princess Leia's theme, and that was, I don't know, that just punched me hard, man. I get goosebumps right now thinking about it. Like, it's just such an incredible, beautiful moment.
It's such a good piece of music. It's so good.
Nothing will ever stir me from that moment at Celebration Orlando where it was the 40th anniversary panel, and Billie Lourd came out and did her big piece about her mother, and which was incredible in itself. And then they sort of panned across and the curtain opened and John Williams was there with his orchestra.
I was in that room and I will never forget it because so a few years, so it was my it was late high school. John Williams actually came to Kentucky and performed with the Louisville Symphony Orchestra. And my uncle surprised me with tickets for Christmas for that. So I took my best friend. And so we got to see John Williams perform Indiana Jones, some of the music from the first couple of Harry Potter films, E.T., Star Wars, Superman. So when those curtains pulled back and you saw John Williams, so many people were in there seeing him for the first time. I had the advantage of saying, this is my second time I've gotten to see him perform live. And it was so incredible. Just like, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, you can't really top that opening ceremonies panel from 2017.
No, that was just pure magic. That was, and John Williams, like the crowd. Once the crowd had worked out, there was John Williams standing there with an orchestra, and he just turns around and goes, and everyone just shut the hell up right there at that very moment. It's like when John Williams puts his finger up to shush, you just do it, and then playing Princess Leia's theme was just, an absolutely magical moment. If you haven't seen it, jump on YouTube, go find the 40th anniversary panel from Star Wars Celebration Orlando. It will, it's just a magical moment.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite quote from Star Wars?
It's an Obi-Wan quote. It's, you've taken your first step into a larger world. That was my senior quote for my yearbook in high school. I remember I put that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. That's always stuck with me. It's like, especially, graduating college and moving on to, every new phase of my life, that quote always will pop back up. This is, it's still life. It's in a lot of ways it's life as I've known it, but still there's so many larger pieces coming into play here. It's like, you have to be ready to deal with it. And it's like, it's your first step. You're probably gonna trip, you're gonna fall, you're gonna make some mistakes, but you've made it here. That's a good thing.
That's life is very much about falling over and getting back up again. It's
and also any chance I can use to throw in the word wizard is perfect. I wouldn't say that's my catchphrase, but I use it all the time with my friends, especially when it's really fun explaining it to somebody for the first time, because they'll be texting me. It's like, hey, so we still down for coffee later? I'm like, yeah, it's going to be so wizard. And I'll send it and not think about it. And then I'll say, huh? I'm like, oh, it's a thing in Star Wars. So when Mando said it after he got his N1 starfighter, I blasted out of my seat. I laughed so hard. I'm like, yes. It's like, yes, it's still a thing. It was not just a one-time deal from Kitster. So
it's funny because me and my master at work, my hairdressing master, we always greet each other with chut chut. Like chut chut wado. So we just walk into the shop, whoever's there first, we're like chut chut. It's like that's our little Star Wars greeting.
It's perfect.
Do you have a favorite life message in Star Wars? Something that you sort of bring into your everyday life? I know you sort of mentioned a couple since we've been talking, but
I think the one that's the most paramount is it's okay to fail. I think you really see that with Anakin's story. It's like, he failed hard. He turned to the dark side, but there's that great redemption story at the end of Return of the Jedi, and it's come up a lot in life for me. A few months ago, back around Christmas, it was really, really tough. I had gone through a few things at work, and I was just really, really freaked out. And I'm just like, I have really screwed up this time. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to get out of this? How is it going to happen? And I just, I kind of had to think back to, it's like, what, you're going to fail. It's okay. You just learn to pick yourself back up and keep going. And I did that, and things are fine now. So, but I think that's been the most paramount lesson that I have to, and it's one I have to constantly remind myself, because I tend to get frustrated and discouraged really easily, especially when something doesn't go the way I want it to go, and I have to figure out a workaround for it. I'm just like, it's okay. These things happen. Just do it another way. There's a better thing coming. So it's just a constant reminder and a constant struggle that I have to deal with, but I'm working with it.
You learn how to adapt, and you learn how to deal with it better every single time. I think
right.
I dealt with a bit of anxiety and stuff over the years, and it's like you have these sort of internal conflicts where it's like you say something and you don't know how they react, and then you spend an entire evening thinking about, oh, why did they react that way? And you have you just play out everything to the umpteenth degree, and it's just like, you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah
it still happens from time to time. Like, it is what it is. It's part of being human. But
right.
This is always a fun question. Favorite piece of Star Wars music?
Well, I mean, how much can I say more about John Williams? He's amazing. I think the one piece of music that can always get me in a fun, good mood is Love Pledge in the Arena from Attack of the Clones, because it starts off so soft, and then it just hits you with a punch in the face. Like I said, I play a lot of D&D, and I've used that song so many times, when especially the second half of that song, the drum beats and the horns in there, just I used it with this. There's a campaign that I'm playing right now with some friends, and they had like a big goblin attack on this little village, and that was the first song that I played, and it just always makes it anything fun. Just that scene with Anakin and the 501st walking into the temple for that first time, and you really get to hear that. It's epic. It's an epic song. Also, what was the? Oh, I gotta look up my notes, because there was another one I put in there. Maybe I didn't. Honestly, Cantina theme's always fun. It's always fun just to mess around with that one. It's always puts me in a fun little mood. I've got a really good friend of mine who doesn't live too far from me. He plays the sitar. It's a really unique guitar type of instrument. And I was over at his house one day hanging out, and he played the Cantina theme on the sitar, and it was the most cool. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I wish I still had that clip, because it was like, I mean, like, yeah, you can play it on the piano, you can play it on the guitar, but can you play it on the sitar though? And
I guess this guy that in Adelaide here, there's the main sort of central mall in the city is Rundle Mall, and there's, it's home to a lot of buskers and stuff like that. They go out and bus. There used to be this one guy who used to play an electric sitar, and it was just like, and he just just mellow, just vibing, man. It was nuts. Such a cool instrument.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, outside of John Williams, I mean, honestly, Rogue One score was fantastic. Kevin Kiner, what he did with Rebels was, oh my gosh, I've used so much. Like, I will constantly put on his music just all the time in the car if I'm like in a really big Star Wars mood. Solo had a lot of good stuff too. Rey's theme was great from Force Awakens. I thought Force Awakens, just the score for that one was really, really good. Obviously, the Imperial March.
I think the Force Awakens score is probably my favorite of the films. I don't know. There's something about that. I don't know. Can't explain what it is. I just love it.
Flight through the asteroid field from Empire is just steak sauce. It's perfect. I love it. And then the music as Luke and Vader are nearing the climax of their fight in Jedi is just awesome. And then the Jedi out of the original trilogy, Jedi might be my least favorite of the original trilogy, but I think it's my favorite score from all three of the films. It's just there's so many fun moments in there, especially when all the starfighters and the Falcon are going down through the auxiliary shaft into the Death Star.
Yes,
so good. Yeah,
I would love to. I know when The Last Jedi came out, and I know we didn't get it here in Australia, but when it was released on, I don't know if we did, but they had it was like a score only version of the film. You could watch the film and it was just the score, because the way John Williams scored that film, he scored the finished product. It wasn't like we'll score sections and we'll intercut and mix and do this sort of thing like he normally does with a lot of films. So you can basically sort of watch through that film. I never got to see it that way, but I would love to sort of see an isolated score version of all the films, so you can just sort of watch them and have the score be the only thing that's playing. I think that'd be really cool to see, actually.
I think that'd make them a lot of fun.
I just put it as a little bit of an extra on the streaming services. Just
that would be great.
Or a DVD extra. Not that we get DVDs anymore, but Disney stopped making home media for us in Australia, so we don't get anything anymore. Sucks.
Yeah.
So like Disney pulled out and basically said, you're not getting any more Blu-ray releases, you're not getting any more 4Ks, no physical media. And then it's like, oh, but by the way, we're going to be putting all these Star Wars series on home media now. And it's like, you can't have them down there. You buttholes.
I haven't even gotten any of them yet. I need to. I've been lazy about it.
So I guess the next section of the questions are all sort of collecting based. So you've always been a little bit of a collector. You still collect a bit here and there these days?
Yeah. Just really depends on what I'm into now. I'm really big into hockey here in the States, so I've got a whole bunch of hockey cards. Wicked. I'll just show one off if I don't bust it. I picked up Wayne Gretzky's rookie card last year, so that was
nice.
That was a big deal for me. But yeah, I'll still buy some Star Wars stuff every now and again. Bought a handful of the books from the 90s recently. That's probably like the biggest recent thing. And then I bought it's over there, right up there. I don't know if you can see it right there. The Sabine Funko Pop from from Ahsoka. I love Sabine and Ahsoka, so I wanted to have. I'm trying to track down the Black Series figure, but I can't find it anywhere. It's getting expensive now, and I had chances to buy it on Amazon for pretty fair retail price, and I just passed on it, and now I'm kicking myself for it because it's the one figure that I've seen recently that I really, really want. But yeah, I mean, you know, like the one thing that still is constant for me is just the vintage figures. I'll buy them when I can, you know, when I find them, you know, good shape, good price. Recent one I picked up was Bosk from Empire. Got that one recently. Now I really want to track down the Emperor and then probably an FX7 next, because those are
cool.
Two I've always really liked.
Nice. Do you have a favorite item in your collection? Something that you've...
There are several. One I'm actually going to take my computer up and show you guys. So there's a little story. So I got to meet Carrie Fisher and about 5 months before Force Awakens came out. So I stood in line for 3.5 hours and got her to sign that.
It's such a Carrie Fisher. I remember seeing that, you know, in your photos and stuff you put up.
I remember it was because the convention happened right after the sizzle reel from San Diego Comic-Con came out, and you got to see Carrie Fisher for the first time. You got to see Peter Mayhew and dressed up as Chewbacca for the first time. And I was thinking, you know, it'd be really cool to get her to sign that picture. So I went, so I got a screen cap of it, took it to a print shop, got it printed out, and got her to sign it. And she was like, "This is awful." And I'm like, it took me for a second to realize, I'm like, you're standing right next to Carrie Fisher. She is so sarcastic and so fantastic. And so, like, I got home and I remember posted it on Instagram, and Yoda's News contacted me. It's like, "Do you mind if we share this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And they were talking about, like, this might be one of the first pieces of Force Awakens merchandise or anything that she's probably signed. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, that's probably fair. So, so I felt really lucky that I got something of that for her to sign. So that's always been special. Another one that I really like, I got this in Chicago, which is a animation cell from Ewoks of Wicket.
Excellent.
I still need to get it framed, but I love it. That was something I was really, really proud to get. I think I only paid $40 for it too, which I thought was a great deal.
Yeah, it's really good.
And then I've got the original paperback printing of Star Wars from when that came out.
Very nice.
I've seen this go for like anywhere from like $300 and up. I found it at a vintage bookstore for $25. So I was...
Wow. Yeah.
This is something I've always wanted, because I just love... I could go on for another hour about how much I love Ralph McQuarrie's art.
See what version I've got. I can't remember. It's not that one.
I've got 3 versions of it. I've got this one, and I've got... Actually, I don't have that one yet. I don't have that version yet. I've got the other 2. I've got 2 of the gold versions, one with blue text, and then there's another one with green text as well. But this was a grail for the longest time. So when I saw that this was a $25, I'm like, there is no way in hell I'm passing this up. So I grabbed this, and I took it. Because I was still in college when I bought this, so I took it home, put it on my shelf, and I'm like, I actually ended up going home the following weekend because I didn't want anything to happen to this book. I loved it so much. But I think probably the most unique thing that I have would be the holiday special, The Last Jedi, Solo, and Rogue One, all on VHS.
That is elite.
There is an eBay seller who did transfers of all of these, and there's also one for The Force Awakens that I still need to track down. But these were like $25 a piece, and I got like a really nice paycheck one afternoon. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna treat myself. So I've watched the holiday special and Rogue One on VHS. I still need to watch Solo and The Last Jedi, but it's really kind of fun to watch these, especially the newer ones on VHS. But
That's
the
cool,
holiday
man.
special was just great, and they made them look just like the classic CBS Fox videos from the early 80s, which I love.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
they didn't do much for the for the newer movies, but I mean, like, just it's just so cool. I mean, like, and they've got the films on here. You got the really cool CBS box.
Yeah. Oh man, they've gone to town. That's really cool.
I love these. I would assume they've done the Rise of Skywalker as well. I need to look and see if they've done any more of those, because I would like to get those, because I do like having all the movies on VHS. I've got one of the Ewok movies. I still need Battle for Endor. But I mean, it's like I've got a lot of my stuff's in storage just because I just don't have the space for it. But I think those, I think what the ones I showed off are my highlights. Also, probably this is actually, I think, probably the coolest story that I've got. So one of my best friends, when his dad passed, or his grandpa passed away, they were cleaning his house out, and he sent me a picture of that, of it's Empire Strikes Back, Millennium Falcon. And he was like, "Hey, do you want this?" I'm thinking, "Yeah, sure. How much do you want for it?" He goes, "You can just have it." I'm like, "Okay." So the Falcon's in there. I think it's about 80% complete. There's a little bit of TLC for that. But I mean, like, the Millennium Falcon with the box, I mean, like, it doesn't happen very often. So I'm like, I was very, very grateful to take it and give it a new home. So I've also got a Daisy Ridley autograph, and then John Morton, who played Dak, as well. So I got to meet him at a convention. He was awesome. Such a fun guy to talk to. But yeah, I think those would be the highlights. Definitely some highlights.
That's awesome. Well, I was going to ask, the next one was anything in your collection that you consider to be unusual, and I guess those VHS tapes are definitely part of it. Yeah,
definitely, for sure. Those would be really cool. And then I think the Jefferson Starship 45 record would be another one. It's like, honestly, anything holiday special that I have would just be unique and weird and just cool.
Did you get the vintage collection Chewie that just recently came out with the red robe?
No, I still need to get that. I gotta. Honestly, I might try to grab it on Friday when I get paid. Because
that hasn't come out anywhere in Australia. I haven't even checked Amazon. I don't think so. But it might be one I have to try and find internationally, because no one. The usual, we've got one, sort of big fan channel here, which would normally pick stuff like that up, but for whatever reason, that one wasn't picked up here in Australia. So, that's one I have to track down, ask around, and see if there's anyone that does have it in Australia knows where they got it from. So,
I was really hoping, and I'm still hoping they would. I would love to see them do something holiday special themed with the retro collection, like the vintage style. I think that would be really, really cool. I want a Lumpy action figure so badly. I want Lumpy. That's all I want. Give me a Lumpy action figure, and I'll be happy for the rest of my life.
That'll be cool.
That'd be great.
Get someone to get a custom done.
Oh yeah, it'd be fun.
Brian's been trying to find the Chewie 2, no luck. And they're going to be out there somewhere, man. They're going to be out there somewhere. Is there any sort of holy grails that you would love to have?
Well, considering that I've got this holy grail now, I think it would be something. I think one thing would be really nice to have would be something used from like the production of one of the movies. I mean, I've got the animation cell from Ewoks. There was a booth I remember seeing at both of the celebrations I've been to that had just so many production documents. Hot Toys Lumpy win, please. That. Oh gosh, yeah. Just do a whole line. Just do a whole collection of Lumpy action figures.
The Lumpy series.
The Lumpy series. I think just having something from the production would be really cool to have. Like, even if it's like a call sheet or just like a something simple like that. I know they had storyboards and call sheets, and there was even a piece of the original Death Star that they had framed in a really nice display. I would have bought something, but it was just that stuff was just a little out of my price range at the time. But I mean, I would love to get something like that. Just get that, frame it, be cool. Something like that I think would be cool. I mean, another Grail item is my Black Series Stormtrooper helmet. I got that.
That's cool.
Force Friday when Rogue One stuff came out, I remember my friends and I going to Toys R Us that night, and that was the first thing I went to. I didn't care about any of the action figures. Like, that's the one thing I'm not leaving here without, and I got one. So I was very, very happy. And I actually ended up wearing that to work the next day, just showing it off like the idiot that I was. And I got some laughs out of it. So
those days, Toys R Us midnight releases. It was so. It wasn't long ago, but it feels like it was an eternity ago.
I remember. I remember waiting in line. There weren't. I remember there weren't a whole lot of people for Rogue One. I remember there was a couple of guys who'd been waiting there since like early afternoon when we went, and I think by the time we got in, there was maybe 10, 12 people there. And we got there pretty late too. I think we didn't get there till almost 11:30, and there was hardly anybody there. So, but yeah,
I remember doing the Force Awakens midnight release, and I was second in line. There was one other person there, and then by the time we probably got there about 11:15, I think, so 45 minutes early. And yeah, by the time the doors were open, I reckon there were 50 to 60 people there, all lined up. And I reckon the Black Series figures, they had 2 sets of them.
Ooh.
Like, that was it. Like, so I managed to get. There might have been 3 or 4, but there wasn't many there. I managed to get one of each, and I was just like, all right, I'm good. Let's go. I reckon I was in the car with the receipt at 12:09.
Hey, that's not bad. I remember I had to work that night, so I remember getting off at like 8:00, racing home to my friend's house, because a whole group of us were going. It was me and 2 of my other buddies. We were all going to go, and I remember we went to Walmart that night, and we got there at like 10:00, and there wasn't a whole lot of people out, and they had just started bringing some stuff out. They had like cake and cupcakes and drinks and stuff just on display, and they're like, and they started bringing stuff out, and they're like, you can put stuff in your cart, but obviously you can't check out till midnight. So I remember I made sure to grab Rey, like anything with Rey on it that I could find. And then for The Last Jedi, I remember I actually got to go with Adam, JCC 2224, me, him, and his brother, and then one of my friends. We all went out and hit up a couple of stores. There's actually a video of that on my YouTube channel, so if anybody wants to go check that out. That was a fun night. I remember doing that. That was a lot of fun.
That's cool, man.
And then the year we did the Triple Force Friday the next year with a couple of friends. I was going through a really rough time at that point. There was a lot going on. I had just gotten dumped by a girl, and I was just like not feeling myself at all. And so I had a couple of my friends come up and for the night, and just like, well, maybe we'll hang out, do something, and it helped a little bit. So that was fun. Good old memories.
Awesome. Yeah. So what does collecting do for you, like internally? Like, what does it bring to your life? You know, what does it mean to you to be able to have? You know,
it's something fun to do. I mean, you know, outside of, you know, whatever it is I collect. I mean, I watch TV, play video games, read. I mean, I've met so many cool people. I've met you. I've met just so many just unique people I wouldn't have met otherwise. And then, you know, having the opportunity to go to like the conventions or meet up with these people in real life and get to hang out. And then I vividly remember going around with you in Orlando and shopping for vintage Star Wars figures. I remember that very vividly, just having a lot of fun with that, you, me, and James. And just, you know, like the things you learn about the toys and the history of the products as well. And just having that, it's just fun. And then you can just look back at, just like, you can just stand back and look at everything. And it's like, you know, I've put a lot of hard time and some serious money into this. And, you know, and everyone's going to display their stuff differently. You know, I've been rearranging some of my stuff, but the Star Wars stuff has not hardly changed at all. And it's just fun just to look, you know, and just, you know, every little item you have, there's a memory in there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the book, walking into the bookstore, finding it for $0.25. Stormtrooper helmet. Getting that at one of that was probably the last time I went to Toys R Us for anything major.
This is a cat of mine escaped the house right after that Triple Force Friday and was gone for months. She's rubbing up against my feet as we speak.
Oh, I remember that, man. I'm glad she's home. But just, it's fun to collect things, especially if you're passionate about it. And then, especially when you find something you've looked for so long, that relief and excitement that you get is just, there's honestly, not many other feelings can, amount to that. Maybe sex, but, but,
maybe,
I wouldn't know. But it's just, it's fun. It's just like meeting so many fun people. Just it's a fun thing to do.
It is.
Yeah, I love it.
We got a couple of last little minute questions, and we'll just go on with it and see what happens. What are you most looking forward to in the future for Star Wars?
Definitely excited for the Acolyte. Really excited for that.
Yeah, man.
Cannot wait. If it comes out like 5 days before my birthday, so I think my boss at work is going to have me over. I think we're going to get a few of the other Star Wars fans of ours that we know. We're going to get together and watch that 2-episode premiere that night.
Excellent.
Excited to see what comes next for the animation series. Looking forward to finishing up the Bad Batch and just seeing what they go from there. Like I said, I'd love to see something with the pod race. Pod racing, I think, would be really cool. I also grew up with watching a lot of military, aviation history on the History Channel, and there was a show called Dogfights. They would take all these, major air combat battles from World War II and Vietnam and Korea and Desert Storm, and they would interview the pilots and show off, all, everything that happened. I would love to see a Star Wars version of that. They talk, Clone Wars, Galactic Civil War, first, all that stuff, just, even if they did a little kind of not made it like ha funny, but put in like maybe just a random cameo from some Star Wars producer that put Pablo Hidalgo in a TIE fighter pilot costume and talk about doing a raid on a rebel transport only to see his entire squadron blow up with Luke Skywalker coming in and him being the only one to escape.
Yeah,
that'd be I've always talked with my friends what our dream Star Wars project would be if we were ever given the chance. For me, it would be a limited run series about TIE fighter pilots. It would be TIE fighter Top Gun.
Yeah, don't be afraid to go a little meta with it. Yeah, just have some fun with it. I reckon that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Like I was so excited when they announced Rogue Squadron, but now it's like nobody knows really what's going to go happen with it. And there's rumors it's going to be a Disney Plus series now, and I'm just like, I really hope they get to do something with it, because I remember when they announced that, I got so excited, and now it's just like that. It was supposed to have come out by now.
Yeah, it was meant to. Was it meant to be? This year at some point, wasn't it? Or next year? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see what they're going to do. The Mandalorian and Grogu in a couple of years, that's going to be really fun. Seeing, what they do with the Rey movie, that's going to be fun. So, and then also the video games. I'm so excited for Outlaws in August. I cannot wait.
Me too, man. That's just another game to suck into and just be immersed by.
I still need to pre-order it. I'm probably going to get like one of the collector's editions just because I'm that excited for it.
I will too. I don't want to pay. Look, the biggest one is like $170 here, which is ridiculous. But I'm a sucker for this thing. It's marketed at me. I'm going to buy it, no matter how much I'm going to complain about. Not going to be using the skins anyway. And it's just
right.
I don't know. I'm terrible like that. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. I've loved the Jedi Fallen Order game so far. Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order have been nothing short of spectacular. I loved all the customization stuff that you could do with Survivor. I love finding the mullet and then just the big handlebar mustache. So I went around. That was my costume. I went around basically like, I am Space Burt Reynolds here. I am Space Burt Reynolds. That was.
Did you get the trophy for it? Where you it's called, like, what do they call it?
Like
you use the heavy,
the Roadhouse one. Yeah.
You use the heavy sword.
That was one of the first ones I went after, was that one. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And
as soon as I saw that, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is an easy trophy to get. But it's like, yeah, Roadhouse kick.
And honestly, as somebody who doesn't own like one of the nice lightsabers yet, the customization for the lightsabers in those games, that is the closest thing I can get to making my own right now. And like, honestly, I'm surprised I didn't go back and look to see what I had in those games and show it off here. But and then, so yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think they put a lot of cards being held to the chest at the moment. I think there's probably a lot on the schedule. They're just, for good reason, I think too.
Right.
They need to hold on to that kind of thing, just because the amount of things over the years that have been announced and then pulled back and then announced and then pulled back. I think just hold the cards a little closer when something's, becoming a sure thing, then put it out there.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the best way forward, I think. Just
I agree
in terms of fan reaction and stuff, and the internet being as much of a hive of scum and villainy that it can be sometimes.
Don't get me started.
Facebook comments, man, it's a wretched hive.
I stick with one Star Wars group or two on Facebook, and that's it.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad thing.
No,
it's not a bad thing.
I mean, I'm not going to knock anybody else's opinion. I'm going to disagree with people on certain things, but I'm not going to bash you and threaten you over it. I'm not going to be that harsh to you. It's like, if you like such and such Clone Wars episode that I don't really like, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm just going to say, you like it for your reasons. I don't. That's fine.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Right.
Yeah, have fun with your own Star Wars. It's all good.
Exactly. Star Wars. There's something there for everybody to enjoy, and I think that's another thing. I love it so much, and so many people that really get into it now. Although it is a little weird when you look at your friends from high school and see the ones that necessarily didn't make fun of me, but just kind of laughed and joked about it. Now they're like diehards. I'm like, you are such a poser sometimes. But I mean, I'm not gonna say anything. It's like, hey, they like it now. That's cool. I've been trying to get my cousin to watch Star Wars since I was 6. I still haven't yet. He just had his first kid a few months ago, and I'm thinking, I really hope this kid gets into Star Wars. I'm gonna at least try to get him into it so he can make Dad watch it.
Yeah, that's my plans for my little nephew. He's about to turn 3, and it's just like, yeah, he's all about Bluey and Cars and Shrek, among other things. But I'm like, no, it's almost time to start having that uncle influence. I think.
Yeah,
they go find a little Yoda for him or something. Say,
yeah,
here, learn about this, learn about Yoda.
Yeah, learn from the wise man here.
But yeah, the last question was kind of, what does a Star Wars fan mean to you? But I think you've pretty much.
So I will dive into
that pretty damn well
throughout.
Go for it.
I will dive in a little bit of history here. So right around when Force Awakens came out, I was just like, I had dropped out of college. I had no clue what I wanted. I was really depressed. Contemplated suicide at one point. And then really just like one of the things that kept me going was like, I have to see what happens in The Force Awakens. It's like, I want to see what happens so badly. There's a picture of me on my Facebook somewhere of me buying my ticket when they went on sale. And, I had this big smile on my face, but, internally I'm just struggling. I'm just like, I really don't know if I'm going to be able to make it this long. And then going in with my best friend from middle school, sitting there watching the movie and just loving every second of it. And then that emotional moment when Rey, gets her lightsaber, that's when I started to cry. And it's just like, it just reminded me, I'm here for something, but until I figure that out, I'm just going to enjoy this movie. And Star Wars has always been one of those things I can just always go to when I'm having a rough day, or I just need something to cheer me up. I mean, I can throw on, I can throw on an episode of the Clone Wars. I can throw on Attack of the Clones. I can just throw on a John Williams score piece and just have a ball with it. It's a franchise that has, there's so many people who you can say, it's made them who they are. And I can definitely say for a fact, it's made me who I am. I think I've gotten into history so much because of all just the things that I've learned from, the inspirations that Lucas took from history and mythology. I am 2 months shy from getting my master's degree in history. Right now, I'll get it at the end of July, and I have really I've always been into World War II history, so seeing the connections between that Lucas has made, even down, to the fact that he used a lot of World War II era weapons as, stormtrooper blasters and rebel blasters and things of that sort. I remember when they released the picture of Starkiller Base with the whole just army of stormtroopers standing in there on that wide shot as Hux was looking over, and the first thing that I think of is this picture of these Nazi soldiers at this Nazi rally, and I'm like, okay, I see connections here. And I've loved going to make those connections with stuff like that. And, I've gotten really into writing. I've written, I have it, like, I've kind of started to write out that Top Gun TIE Fighter thing, at least a rough outline of what I would like to do with it. I wrote a Star Wars fan film that me and my friends were going to make, and we just never got to do. Getting to play, basically I got to throw in a few of those ideas through the D&D Star Wars campaign that me and my friends did. So that was a fun way to do it. And it's just always something I talk to my friends about. Like the guys I play Dungeons and Dragons with on Thursday nights, they're all big Star Wars fans. And so like sometimes we won't even think about it. We'll quote Star Wars. And then it's just like a few seconds later, I'm like, oh, I see your reference there. So yeah, it's just one of those pieces of culture that just relates so many levels, and it's just great when you meet somebody who's developed a love. And honestly, it's just really fun, especially with my friend that I'm watching everything with, a lot of it for the first time, just seeing somebody's reaction for the first time, seeing that you've watched countless times and know is coming, and then she'll text me and she'll be like, what is happening? And I'll just get the biggest smile on my face and like, oh, just you wait, there's more coming.
Yeah, it's like reliving it for the first time through someone else's eyes.
Right.
And it is. You get those feelings back.
Right. Yeah. It's just such a big part of me. I don't know what I would do without it. Yeah. So.
Oh, as in terms of what you were saying right at the very start there, when you went through your sort of tough period back before Force Awakens, just to say I'm glad that you didn't take that step. Glad you hung around, and there are lots of other people out there that are glad as well. I think a lot of us have been in very similar situations. It's not easy out there, navigating this world, and despite the connectivity we have these days through things like social media and stuff, it can still be really easy to feel that pressure and feel segregated and feel alone at times. And I've definitely had to lean on Star Wars as a trope, as a leaning post, something to hold me up when I've needed something, or just literally just to escape the pressures of real life. But we're always out here. I think 99% of Star Wars fans are all good people. We're all out here willing to help us. Just ignore the negative minority that is quite loud on social media. You don't let that crap get you down, because it can bum you out. It can really bum you out if you look into it too much. And I've done the defensive thing, and I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth my time. I ended up getting myself stressed out and bummed out about it. And I'm like, no, it's not what it's about. I don't care what other people think anymore. Right. And Star Wars definitely gotten me through some tough periods over the years. So yeah, a lot of us have been through similar things. So yeah, you're not alone. And if there's anyone else out there watching, reach out. There's people out there willing to help. So just wanted to throw that out there just after you said that. So
we are one with the Force, and the Force is with us.
Indeed. The Ryan saying here, my great niece is 2, and she's a big Grogu and Ahsoka fan. My wife is her babysitter, and every day when I get home, I have to take her to my cave so she can say hi to my Hot Toys Grogu. That's adorable. That is amazing, man. That is the best. Good question from Tobias here. Is there a director you guys would love to tackle a Star Wars movie?
Even though he's dead, and I think would be a really killer acid trip, I would have loved to see what Stanley Kubrick could have done with something. Because I am a diehard. Stanley Kubrick's my favorite director. I've seen so many of his movies. 2001 is iconic. The Shining, I think, is the greatest horror movie ever made. Full Metal Jacket is just a blast and a half to watch. And then Clockwork Orange. I'm going to get some odd looks from people every time I tell them this, but Clockwork Orange is my favorite. It's just a fun movie. But I think he really could have done some really weird, trippy Jedi, training, trial stuff.
Yeah. It's a good question. My favorite director is Chris Nolan. So I would love to see what someone like him would do in order to just make you think. It's interesting because you don't want to mess with like the fabric of reality and time and all that kind of thing, because that can turn something like Star Wars into something that it's not. But I don't know. I feel like stylistically, I love his style. A lot of the cinematography that he works with. He works with the cinematographer I'd love to see more of is Greg Fraser, who is an Australian who just did. He did. I think he did Rogue One. He did recently Dune 1 and 2. He's worked with Denis Villeneuve as well. So it'd be he'd be another director I'd like to see. I don't know. It's a good question. They're the two that sort of come to mind.
I think I'd like to see what Edgar Wright could do. I love Edgar Wright.
I even say, like, just to throw a curveball out there, just in terms of stylistic approach, Tim Burton.
Oh, he could do something fun.
Like that could be fun and insane all the same time. It'd be just a completely different flavor. But if you can find a way to mix that flavor, right, Tim Burton and Star Wars, I think you could do something quite fun there.
I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan, but I love just the things he can do with movies. It's just incredible, just like what he can make. Mos Eisley, written, directed by Quentin Tarantino. That'd be great.
It'd just be lots of different alien feet.
that would be a trip.
It's been a big positive for me. I appreciate that, man. It's a happy place. Star Wars is a happy place. Yeah, you just got to block that crap out. Put some Star Wars on, listen to some metal. That's the way we do it.
Hey, there you go.
But yeah, in terms of other directors, there's nothing that's really jumping to mind straight away. George Lucas. I'd love to see what he could do now.
Yeah, it'd always be cool to see. I remember.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be cut out for it now. I don't know.
I remember one of the funniest jokes after Rogue One came out was George Lucas signs on to direct Rogue One sequel.
Yes.
I loved that. And I remember one of my family friends texted me that. And they thought it was a complete serious thing. They actually thought he was coming back. And I'm like, oh, let me explain this to you.
I saw that reminds me of the other one. It was before starring in Star Wars Episode 4, Mark Hamill had never seen a single Star Wars movie.
Right. I do remember. Oh gosh, I really.
Spielberg.
Ooh.
He was close, man. He was very close.
Yeah.
Because I think, as Ron Howard was close to doing Episode 1, and he didn't want to touch it. It was, and then I think Spielberg he did a little bit of the directing for the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. He worked on that a little bit. I dare say if anyone was close to getting in on the prequels, it was Spielberg.
I think he would have been really good to see that. I mean, I love my favorite Spielberg movie is The Terminal with Tom Hanks. I love that. Catch Me If You Can is fantastic.
Yeah.
He does a lot of really, really good character pieces. Schindler's List. He would have had a really, really good fun at a character film. Characters being the central part of the story.
Brad Bird.
Oh,
what was he signed on for? I'm trying to. There's been so many over the years. There was what's his name? Josh Trank that was going to do the Boba Fett movie. He did that terrible, Fantastic Four film.
Fantastic. Gosh,
I can't remember. I did sit and watch that Fantastic Four movie a couple of years ago, and I was just like, yeah.
I do remember it was a joke when they did it, but when the Hobbit movies were starting to wrap up, there was Peter Jackson was doing one of his little video blog things that he was doing for all the behind the scenes, and there's a video of him somewhere with a fake Star Wars script on his desk, and he's trying to hide it under his desk. I remember everybody was speculating, is Peter Jackson going to take a movie? That'd be fun to see. I think he could do a really fun creature film.
Yeah. I was trying to think who was, because Peter Jackson wasn't originally tapped to do the Hobbit films. That was, oh
gosh, I can't think.
Yeah. I can picture the dude. It's on the tip of my tongue. Yep, no, I'm completely blanking. Del Toro, yes.
Yeah, Del Toro.
Yes. Yeah.
And
that could have been
fun. And didn't he pitch like a Jabba the Hutt?
I think so.
I want to say he did. I would have loved to see that. Like a really fun Jabba the Hutt gangster movie would be cool.
Yeah, like mafiosi style. Yes, that would be cool. It's just Jabba just. Oh, yeah, I don't know how you do that, but
Del Toro would find a way. He would figure it out.
You know what? I wouldn't say no to like lower budget straight to streaming films. Like just character pieces like a Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. I'd be up for something like that.
Yeah. They don't all have to. Not everything has to break ground. I don't know. That's the tricky thing with Hollywood these days. It's like every movie that comes out needs to top the last one. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. It's sad to see the individualistic ideas coming in. It's remakes, sequels.
And it's a bit like the Marvel syndrome sort of copped that a little bit with, after Endgame, they sort of had to go back and start rebuilding again. Everyone's like, oh, these movies are crap compared to... There's like, you can't just continually build up and up and up and up and up from, can't top Endgame.
There's a couple episodes of the TV series that I really liked the second Doctor Strange movie. That's the last Marvel movie that I saw. I enjoyed that one pretty well. And then a couple episodes of WandaVision and Winter Soldier and Bucky were really good too. But I'm excited to see how they do Fantastic Four, and then love to see low-key indie Dazed and Confused and American Graffiti. That would be fun. A little bit of Fast Times at Ridgemont High thrown in there for good measure. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping they do something like that with Skeleton Crew later this year. That's another thing I'm really excited
I was literally about to bring out Skeleton Crew, like just something with that different flavor, you know. It's
right.
You know, with sort of, you know, Mandalorian sort of touched on the Western, Ahsoka sort of touched on the samurai. And then to see Skeleton Crew, the Acolyte's going to do something even different. You know, it's going to be very sort of, you know, sort of kung fu sort of style martial arts movie, a series, I think. And then to sort of see Skeleton Crew do something again, I think, and sort of then be able to pull them all together, I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, I think it's probably time to wrap up. I appreciate you coming on and hanging out, Owen. It's really good to talk to you again, man.
This was so much fun, man. Thank you for having me on. I had a blast.
It's been way too long between chats, so we'll have to.
Seriously, man.
If you wanna catch up and talk Acolyte when that's dropping,
count me in.
I wanna try and do, because the last couple of series that have been out, I haven't done a little after sort of show, which I have done in the past. So I wanna do something for the Acolyte next month, and we're less than a month away.
Count me in. I'm game for it, man. Let's do it.
And Tobias says, "Stay cute, Owen."
Thanks, Toby.
Great. Thanks for everyone for coming and hanging out on the chat. Really do appreciate all your time, It's always good fun getting a little bit of conversation in the chat. It's really cool. So, all right, we'll catch up with you all very soon. Until then, may the force be with you, everyone.
See you, everybody. Thanks for coming.